everyone. My name is Enejo Victoria Ojene. I'm in 400 level class, part and farm. Okay, for me, second MB was quite an experience. It was a period of learning, a period of unlearning also, and then it was in a whole. It was intriguing. There were periods when it got very intense, but then as a whole, second MB was although it was a phase that I had to go through, but for me it was a period of learning, and then I tried to enjoy every bit of it. I wouldn't say I did anything differently from what everyone was doing. Okay, everyone was reading. There was a regular trying to keep up with academic activities and all. But for me, I think a decision I made at that particular point in time was to set my priorities right. Yes, I had a lot of things that I had to do at once, bearing in mind that it's not only school that I do. I have to face my spiritual life, go to church and do other things. But then I had to set my priorities right at that particular point in time. So I carried my academic work and I put it at the fore during that particular period in time. And then not just putting it at the fore, I had to look at the courses that I had that I was going to be examined on, and then look at the ones that I had to start putting more attention on, because because I was not really doing so well in those courses, so I had to put more attention. And then the ones that I knew that okay, no matter what happens, I have an edge once it comes to this course, then for those ones I didn't put so much energy. So it was not a time to put the same energy into everything, but then I tried my best to put energy into the ones I knew that at this point in time I had to focus on. So that was. Contrary to what a lot of people think I do or what a lot of people do, I'm actually not a person that counts reading time, because it's not like, for me it's not so organized. So anytime that I can read, I read. So for me to try to compute those times together, I can be cooking and reading at the same time. The food is on the fire, I will stand up 100 times to go and like put in other things, but I'll come back and read. So now I cannot quantify that. I can be reading and then maybe I have somewhere to go to, so I keep reading, and then when it's time for me to go, I'll come back and continue. So I read when I can. So for me to quantify reading time, I'm sorry, you cannot get that from me. Okay, if you ask me on the number of times to study a material for maybe a test or something, I'll say 3 times. Okay, 3 times maximum. So the first time I get to read a material, that's I'm just knowing some information. Of course, not all information, because medicine, as we all know, is building on past knowledge. So I may just be reading something maybe in a new light for the first time. So that first time I try to read and then jot. Now that first reading is not for me to remember everything. That's why I jot at that first contact with the material. So I read, I make sure I try ways to remember. That's a point where I start creating mnemonics that I can use to remember, and then other things. But I see that maybe what's the half-life of stuff? It does not stay. So the next time I get to read the material, I read it for consolidation so that it can stay. And then the last time, maybe very close to the test, I just read it again so that I can get fine details. You know, in medical school you need fine details to pass, especially in your MCQ. So 3 times maximum. There are some people that can read just once and then they get everything from the material, but for me, I have to go through this. And then I'm not saying that 3 times must. There are sometimes I read the material just once, depending on the time I have, and then there are sometimes I get to read twice, but maximum 3 times, and it has been working for me. For the strategies for preparing for tests, it depends on the mood or the pattern of the test. So it's very, very, very important for you to know the modality of the test before commencement of preparation. So I'll talk about how to prepare for a test when you know the modality, and a test when you don't know the modality, because there are some courses, some lecturers will not tell you. They're just there, like when you come for the exam, then you just see miracles, you know, wonders usually occur in school. So for MCQ, when preparing for an MCQ test, I don't advise anyone to jot, because I don't think they'll, except there's a reason for maybe you always jot and all that. But for MCQ you need fine details. So the time for jotting, you can use it to read over and over again, because you really need to read over and over again, because you may know something, but because you don't know if it shifted to the right or shifted to the left, you'll fail that question. So fine details are required. You read for MCQs, you read in between the lines. If you're a person that uses highlighter, or you use maybe a different color of pen to make some things bold, that's the time you just sit down and try to highlight and try to make things bold and all that. And then for AC, that's when you can jot and all that, because there's something about the memory. A lot of people say they have picture memories and all, but I think that for everybody, when you will remember more when you see something, like when you have had a mental picture of something. So that's why once you imagine maybe a stuff in your head, you see that it stays more because you have already had that mental picture. So that's what jotting does for you. When you write and then you keep seeing it, there are sometimes I'm writing a test and I see my handwriting, like I see what I've written before, because of how much I won't see the one I've written in red pen, how much I've seen it. So it's just to keep, like, it's just like a camera effect on it. So and then jotting helps you to organize your points. You know how to attempt every question, because you have seen that there is a pattern. Like, let me give an example. There was this test that we wrote recently, and then I saw that for every topic in that course, they follow a particular pattern. Once they move from this, for let's say introduction, they go to definition. From their definition, they are going to course etiology. From etiology, they are going to pathogenesis. From pathogenesis, they are going to clinical features. So when I'm reading another topic still in that course, I anticipate that once I'm finishing my etiology, the next thing that I should see in the slide is pathogenesis. I already know that, even when in the class and they are just teaching, and I didn't take note of the outline before, but because I've seen that they have a particular pattern, I'll see that the next thing, I will say, these people, the next thing that they want to write is treatment, and then of a truth, the next slide will be the slide for the treatment. So it helps, it makes you organized. That's one thing that jotting does for you, and that's for AC. So and then there's a new modality, best of 5. I would say for now, since we are not so like used to it, for me, I still want to seek the knowledge from senior people that maybe have done it before or something. But I think MCQ can still suffice, because that one also requires reading in between the lines
and then understanding. So for understanding, there's no how I can help you in that, but then reading in between the lines can help. Is a step towards best of 5. The issue of a study timetable, it's actually it's a good tool that medical students can harness just to make the process of studying more organized. I would say more organized because there's no how you can follow a study timetable strictly. I personally, I have a study timetable. I constructed one during my preclinics. I constructed another when I came to clinics. But following it strictly, it's not so feasible. So I think your study timetable just helps you first not to concentrate on a particular course, because there's a time that you see that you enjoy this course. You always, like, anytime you want to read, you want to bring out that one and continue from where you stopped the other time. But then it's not advisable because it's medical school, you have to pass everything to move ahead. So study timetable helps to distribute time for every course that you see. That there are some courses that may not even look so serious. I know you have a course in mind now as I'm talking to you, but then when you allot a time for it in the study timetable, you'll be able to follow it. So I have a study timetable, not following it strictly, because once a test or an exam is coming on, everything the exam changes everything. But now for a test, since it's test that we usually write constantly, I'll have to focus more on the test that I'm writing for that time before going ahead to read other courses, because you cannot be having a test tomorrow and because your study timetable is saying a different thing you follow, it does not go that way. So that study timetable helps you maybe in steady states, because there's a steady state in medical school and then there's a period where tests are just coming back to back. So when you're in steady state, a study timetable is advisable. It just helps in organization of things. There are sometimes you already have the study timetable in your head that you know that today is anatomy day, today is hematology day, today is histopath day. So it just helps you for that organization. Okay, for your practical, let me just say, I don't know which class we'll be seeing this right now, but since I just, the only professional exam I've written in medical school is second MBA, I think I'll have more knowledge on that. Maybe when I move ahead, I may know other things. So for your anatomy practical, I'll just advise that you make sure you are involved in the dissections and all. Don't just look around. I know especially for medical students, dissection period is the time to gist and then to read other courses. I'm telling you because I actually did this also. Bring other notes to dissection hall and read them. But then, in as much, even if you're not following from the onset, just make sure